Hey guys, it's Ghosty. Welcome back to my channel. And today I'm going to be discussing Get Out and the horrors of being black. We are in a time where educating people on the black experience and why we continue to protest and fight is at the forefront of social media. I'm here to use my platform and passion for horror films to do just that in the best way I know. Jordan Peele's Get Out perfectly displays some of the horrors of being black and is an all-around well put together film. The story follows a black man named Chris who is spending a weekend with his white girlfriend Rose and her family for the first time. He's skeptical because he knows they do not know he is black, but goes along anyway. Immediately, Chris is uncomfortable with the bad jokes of Rose's father and the off-putting aggression of her brother. He further experiences discomfort at a party where he's surrounded by their white friends and family. It's obvious that there's tension between Chris and all of the party guests. During the party, an incident with the only other black guest occurs, and he tells Chris to get out. Needless to say, Chris was startled, and him and Rose started planning to leave. While they were preparing to leave, it was revealed that Rose and her family purposely chose Chris and have evil and racist intentions. For years, the family have been abducting black people and performing operations in which they are essentially putting the mind of a white person in their black body. In the end, Chris fights his way through the family and escapes. It's no secret that the biggest theme of this film is the racism that black people face. To me, this film really talks about the form of racism that we never address. Racism is on a spectrum. Many white people that believe racism is dead think that we are in a world where there's only a small portion of white people that blatantly hate black people and are white supremacists. I don't necessarily agree with that, but either way, they often look over the more subtle racism, the way white people interact and view black people, whether it's them being fearful of us and calling the cops on us for simply existing or saying stupid things to appear cool.
By the way, I would have voted for Obama for a third term if I could.
We need to address this form of racism, and white people need to know that their unconscious bias that exists due to systematic racism and years of America whitewashing our history is just as bad as them being a member of the KKK. It's hurtful and contributes to the horrors we face as a race in this society. One jarring line from this film is the one that Rose's dad says about deer that was clearly a metaphor for black people.
You know what I say? I say one down, a couple 100,000 to go.
Yeah.
No, I don't mean to get on my high horse, but I'm telling you, I do not like the deer. I'm sick of it. They're taking over. They're like rats. They're destroying the ecosystem. I see a dead deer on the side of the road. I think to myself, that's a start.
I don't even understand that.
I'm just saying, you know what? I am grateful for what you've done today. I don't like...
I'm not racist. I just don't like them. A sentence that many white people love to say. Very similar to, I like black people, just not N-words. Sorry, Karen, but that's racist. An especially chilling scene from this movie is the horrifying party scene. I know many black people can relate to how scared and uncomfortable Chris was during that scene. I've been there, and I'm sure all of my black peers have been there. Comments they made to Chris and the way the guests touched him is a perfect example of how white people constantly objectify and view us as animals. One guest shamelessly asked if it was truly bigger.
Is it true? Is it better?
Wow.
While another said, black is in fashion right now.
Black is in fashion.
It's like we are a zoo animal to them. All of these words and actions contribute to the dehumanization of black people. Get Out has another scenario that we all know too well. Right before reaching Rose's family home, Chris and Rose hit a deer. Rose calls the cops. When they arrive, we immediately see the tension between the cop and Chris. The cop asks Chris for his identification despite him not being the driver during the incident. The cop insists, but Rose uses her privilege and gets the cop off his back. There wasn't a crime committed, and Chris was still being interrogated, so much like the many unarmed people that have died at the hands of cops. Rose might have used her privilege in this instance, but that does not let her off the hook. Yes, white people, we don't have to patronize you for being a good person. You should be educating and checking your privilege on a daily basis. We can't fight the demon that is racism alone. To no surprise, in the end, it is revealed Rose is not a true ally and was simply the bait to lure Chris to her family. Not all white allies have the malicious intent, but there are white people that befriend black people for their own personal gain, sometimes to ease their white guilt, others to appear cultured. Either way, these white allies often will easily throw their black friends under the bus if given the chance. It proves that from the start, they never saw them as a friend, just as a necessity. At the end of the film, Chris is able to escape the terrifyingly crazy white family. This is easily one of my all-time favorite scenes because he is able to fight them all, but this most recent watch brought something else to my attention. After all the trauma Chris has faced, he still has to get up and fight them alone. When I saw this scene in this light, it made me sad. It made me think of all the trauma we have faced since we were brought here as slaves, and how we still have to continue to fight for our rights despite the generations of trauma we have. Jordan Peele decided to end the film on a funny and light note because he felt the original ending was too real for the political climate at the time of the release. This deleted scene involved Chris seeing police lights as he hovered over Rose's dying body. He immediately raises his hand and it cuts to him being in prison. His good friend Rod trying to get Chris released. Even after all that he went through, there was nothing Chris could do to convince that he was the victim in this. Today there are white people justifying the death of George Floyd because he might have been a criminal. Even when there's evidence, they will never see us as the victim, even when it's filmed on camera. Just because you are invited doesn't mean you're welcome is a tagline for Get Out. And there honestly couldn't be a better one. Black people know this and have lived this, and we are fighting tooth and nail to get white people to see this. We will continue to fight for as long as we need to.